Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. It wasn't really worth the trip up to, what was it, the West Midlands. Late night, drive back. I think I got back about just after 1 o'clock. I'm sure many of those who made the trip back did exactly the same. Some might have stayed over. Wasn't really worth it. It wasn't. It was a weird game. It was a match that was very much kind of just like let's get this out of the way kind of thing. Let's just please no one get injured. It's all about Wednesday. Let's just get this done and move on. Yeah, very, very strange game at Villa Park. Probably even more strange that Spurs actually weren't awful in the first half, despite every reason to be terrible. Yeah, there's plenty to dive into, I think, into this game, into what comes next in the days ahead as well. And yeah, of course, this is going to be my last video ahead of the final. So we're going to talk about that big bad boy in Bilbao that we have coming up. There's a lot of alliteration there. Not all of it made sense, but a lot of alliteration. You might notice the newcomer that's going to stick around now, I think, on that side, because it was a very kind gift. Right, let's start with last night's game at Villa Park. Something about this game, it made me think of a certain musical at the cinema a couple of months ago. You might recognise these lyrics. Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Yes, I'm not going to sing it. It's not Elphaba from Wicked. Just imagine Ange Postecoglou with a green face, I think, coming out with those lines, belting those lines out. It's an incredible image, I know. But something definitely changed within Ange Postecoglou in recent days. And I think it all kind of came from a certain Swede getting injured. Certainly, this game, everybody expected him, and I think a lot of people within the club as well, expected him to play a reasonably strong Spurs lineup at Villa Park. A bit like we saw United do against Chelsea last night. Because, we've spoken about this before, it would be almost 14 days, 13 I think in total, between the semi-final second leg against Glimt and the final in Bilbao. So that's actually, at this stage of a season, quite a long time for players to kind of just fall out of tune a little bit, lose a bit of rhythm, a little bit of sharpness. It's not ideal. So I think the plan really was going to be that he was going to use a bit of a blend of a team. Then Decky, 15 minutes into the game at Palace, obviously we know. Actually, it came out since my last video, isn't it? I'm sure you're well aware of it now, though. Patella in his right knee, needs surgery. Not only is he out for the last week or so of the season, but is also going to be a few months out. I'm interested to see. We don't really have a time frame on it yet. Obviously, the internet will give you some very long time frames for that, which Postecoglou's knocked down. Of course, we know with his kind of talking about medical stuff. No, just no. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But when it comes to Kulusevski, it could be a little while before we see him back. Hopefully, early on in next season, but it could be a while. I guess it depends on the severity of it, what was done, how quick a healer he is, and everything. But I think that injury in itself, seeing that he was trying to be careful, yet still had... Decky was only meant to play 45 minutes, and 15 minutes in, a routine tackle that happens hundreds of times during a game, absolutely wiped him out because he just happened to be turned at an awkward angle. And I think I said this in the last video, I've still seen people moan about the fact he was playing Decky. Decky had to play. Decky looked rusty, he wasn't sharp, he needed more minutes, he needed tuning up, absolutely. It was just a freak injury. You can guarantee, this is the trouble, isn't it? And we may find this with the decisions he made last night. You can protect the players all you want. They can have a training session and do something in a training session. We've seen it with Bergvall, we've seen it with Solanke. It's been numerous ones. Manasolon, even Perisic in recent seasons. A training ground injury can happen at any point. I absolutely understand you're lessening the risk slightly by taking them out of a match action, but I still feel like Decky had to play. So whatever, Decky's injury. I think Postecoglou just probably knelt on his knees in his home and screamed to the gods, the football gods, like, why are you still torturing me? And I think in that moment, he just decided, stuff this. Do you know what? I actually think maybe for one of the rare occasions in his career, I think Postecoglou got a little bit scared, a bit fearful about, what could happen to his players. And it's just, I'm just going to protect them. This game's too big. I'm going to try to protect them. And obviously, when I say in that little quote from Wicked, not playing by the rules of someone else's game, talking about the fact that, it's one of those, isn't it? Oh, it's messing with the integrity of the game. It's like, no, Spurs have to do what's best for Spurs in this game. I saw someone trying to compare last night's game to the one against Man City last season, when obviously Postecoglou didn't understand why Spurs fans, or some Spurs fans, wanted him to lose that game. It's not the same. It's not the same. Ultimately, Spurs have got to do what's best for Spurs. That night was not about what was best for Spurs. That was what was best for tripping up Arsenal, I suppose. What was best for Spurs, again, we kind of look back to it and you do wonder whether, technically, actually, I think it was, wasn't it? Those points would have got Spurs into the Champions League, I think. I don't know. Please feel free to tell me off or remind me if I'm correct. I don't know. Ultimately, that's all gone in the past. And hopefully we never have that scenario ever again. But last night was just about what was doing right for Spurs, in that they've got their own big game in the Champions League race, and it is because we know they can win a trophy and they can get the Champions League with it. So I understood the decision, and he actually said on Thursday ahead of the game, he said, look, in a normal world, you use this game for sharpening up, but we're not living in a normal world. That's the reality of our existence at the moment, where we can't lose another player to an injury. It's just too finely balanced for us, considering what's at stake. Villa are obviously going for Champions League football, and you can see how important it is to them, and we're doing the same. I still felt, as anyone that saw my predicted team will know, I still felt he might use a couple of the players that would start in the final, just even like he did against Forest. Use Romero and Van der Ven for 45 minutes maybe, just to keep them ticking over and then take them off at the break. But clearly that Decky moment rattled him hugely, and what we got, it was one kind of step short of having canteen staff in the team. It really was there was not a single player that started the game in Norway. Actually, it wasn't a single player in the starting lineup that started in either leg of the semi-final, which kind of says everything, really. And I'm sure Unai Emery, when he saw the team, was like, yes, kind of thing. When he said, oh, fantastic. That's the team I wanted them to put out. And I'm sure Villa's rivals were going, Spurs, I'll get you. Well, they already probably have. We even saw Sergio Reguilon dusted off, taken off the shelf at Hotspur away. Thanks, Sergio. Come in before your contract comes to an end next month. Let's get you playing your first Premier League start of the season in the penultimate game of the season. It's only his second start in any competition. He started against Tamworth, didn't he? So Reguilon was in there after doing his best to accidentally take out Brennan Johnson in the training session on Monday. Mikey Moore was starting as well. Only his third Premier League start of the season. Obviously, his last two starts for Spurs were Brentford in the Premier League, Villa in the Cup, and both of those got taken off at half-time. He just struggled with the physicality of the game. We know, and Postecoglou said it, he actually spoke quite well about Mikey Moore, it was about a month ago maybe, when someone asked about him getting less game time nowadays. And he just said, look, he probably has got more than we actually expected this season. This season is very much one of development for him. But it's just the injury crisis has kind of forced him into kind of a bigger role. And look, we all get carried away about Mikey Moore, myself included, because he's an incredibly talented young man. But he is also a young man. He is a young boy. He's not even 18, and his body reflects that. Having seen him kind of up close, not only by the pitch, but also when you're walking around Hotspur Way, he's just a young boy, and he's still growing into himself. And physically in games, he's quite easy to knock off the ball. We see that. He won't be. He's going to develop, and he's going to become a powerful, strong player. But at the moment, if he's going in for a 50-50, he is not probably winning that ball. And yeah, it's all part of his kind of process and hopefully development. And I'm not going to say I was disappointed with him last night because he had a more tactical role within the system to play. But what I would say is there were a few moments I was like, go on, Mikey, kind of go for it. Have a run, go past that player. And he didn't take it. He took the safe option. And I think he was very much aware that he had to play within this organised structure, especially first half. And yeah, he's a creative spirit, a free spirit, I think, Mikey, that needs to kind of not be harnessed within a structure. So it was a good lesson for him, but I don't think it got the best out of him. So he had those two in there and a very young midfield pairing, average age of just over 20, I think 20.5, Archie Gray and Pat Matassar, who, let's be honest, were up against a very strong Villa team, had won 7 of the past 8 matches in the Premier League, noisy Villa Park, desperately trying to get into the top 5, in a very top 5. I mean, I was looking at it, I didn't realise how close Arsenal could actually drop out of the Champions League spots. It's like 2 points between them. I think Arsenal got a game in hand, but it's mad how tight it is up there. I've kind of forgotten what it's like up there. What's it like up the top? It's kind of like, we're all the way down there. But it could still end in a very cool way. So I think everyone saw this team. I think everyone expected the absolute worst. I did. I was looking at that team. I was saying to people in the press room, it's actually going to be fascinating to see kind of what match we're going to get because it could be utterly horrendous. And you know what? It wasn't for the first 45 minutes at all. The first 45 minutes, I think everyone in the Spurs kind of shirt would actually be quite, I'm going to say proud. It probably wasn't one of those nights, but surprised, vaguely impressed with what that group of players did. Because like I said, in that atmosphere, against a team that is in really, really good form, they gave a pretty good account of themselves, that 11. And bearing in mind, they haven't really had a lot of playing time with each other, that 11. You know, even the back 4 had Reguilon they've barely played with. Sarr and Gray is not a midfield partnership we've seen very much of. Mikey Moore is not starting a lot on the wing, so you're seeing him up there as well. Sonny, Tell and Moore is not a kind of a trio that we have seen. It was lots of new little partnerships and triangles and everything, and they were really organised. First half, don't worry, I'm just talking about first half. I'm not going to say what a wonderful performance it was. It was fantastic. What a great 2-0 defeat. I'm not saying that. First half, I even wrote in my card I have to do like first half player ratings and stuff. And I kind of said at the time, it was all right. It was okay. It was organised. I mean, the only real big chance that Villa had, Antonin Kinski, made a brilliant full save reaction stop to keep out. Ollie Watkins kind of got a slight touch on a ball into the box. And yeah, brilliant save from Kinski. Absolutely fantastic. But that was kind of the only big thing of note he had to do in those 45 minutes. I'd actually say Spurs, there's better chances. They had chances, let's put it that way. They defended really resolutely. You had Reguilon, I actually thought was solid enough on the left as well. Bearing in mind he only had 121 minutes of Premier League football to his name this season before he came into this game. I think there was a brief to him, bearing in mind his lower fitness levels. I think someone just said, Sergio, don't bother going across the halfway line. You do it occasionally if you want, but you're going to have to make sure someone's going to cover you because they knew he was not going to get up and down that pitch with the kind of ridiculous work rate that Porro, Spence and Udogie have to have going up and down those flanks. But actually, he did well. He did okay. He came off eventually. I couldn't tell whether it was a knock or fatigue, but he kind of did this weird stretch for a ball and, it didn't really work for him. And he had to come off. It wouldn't be surprising if there was another injury. I found out in the week that Thursday I asked Postecoglou, Timo Werner's got a hamstring injury. Who knew? Who would have known? Timo with another injury, Tottenham with another injury. He was there at training, certainly ahead of the home game against Bergvall. Wasn't there that I can remember the other day. At the media day training. But, another injury. Stick it in the collection. Spurs going forward, they created a few chances. Sonny, did a couple of his trademark sprints up the pitch. Good to see him back and starting. One of them led to a ball across the box that went behind, I think it was Tellen Moore, which was a shame. It was a good run. Then he had one where he curled over an effort himself over the crossbar. Then there was a great move where Tell put a low ball across and Odegaard did a little, like Porro's flicked goal, really nice goal against Frankfurt at home, wasn't it? Was it Frankfurt? Yeah, I think it was. It was a bit like that, but unfortunately Odegaard just sent it straight at Emiliano Martinez. So should have been a goal. It was a lovely move. And then second half, what should have been a better chance really early on. Kinski did this amazing throw up the pitch into the Villa half. Launched it. Odegaard went straight into his stride and he kind of had to just run in a straight line. If he ran in a straight line, he would have got through on goal. But he had this terrible touch that kind of knocked it across the covering defender. And again, a bit like Mikey, Odegaard going to a 50-50 with a big defender, it's not happening. He's not getting that ball, and he kind of lost it, which, yeah, was a real shame because it was a decent chance. And then Kinski made a good save soon after. Watkins was about to shoot. Davis came in and had a good tackle on him, but the ball still kind of went towards goal. And it was like a combination of Watkins' foot and Davies' challenge, but Kinski made a really good low save. And I kind of felt it all went wrong when Pat Matasar had to come off, and Yves Bissouma was like, hello, I'm off to Bilbao, not really concentrating on this game, hello. He doesn't talk like that, Yves. And yeah, it just went wrong from that point on. What happened with Sarr, we didn't realise a few of us in the press box at first. Again, this is the kind of one thing, while we see a wider view of the game from the press box, we don't actually see the close-ups that you see at home. Sometimes we'll have a monitor and we'll see little bits and pieces, but during a game, we don't see little things. So I just kind of tweeted something like, oh, Pat Matasar's coming off, presumably that's protecting him in case he's playing in the final. And then swiftly realised, no, he's not well. And he came off down the side of the pitch. Medical staff took him down the tunnel, and a couple of people told me that they could see he was limping, as in on social media, that he was limping during the game. And actually, Mikey Moore late in the game was getting some treatment and came off as well. So after the game, first question, before I even asked, it shows you the importance of the players over this game and the result and the performance and everything. Rather than my first question being, what did you think of their match, Ange? As we kind of have to always say. It was Pat, Mikey, okay? Are they okay? I didn't say it like that, but something along those lines. And he said Pat felt something in his back, so we took him off as a bit of precaution. I don't think it's anything too significant, speaking to him afterwards, but he just felt something in his back. And I think Mikey was okay. It was fatigue as much as anything else. He hasn't played that sort of amount of minutes before. The reason I went, when I said about those three words, because nothing will terrify. Actually, it's not three words. It's far more than three words. I think it's anything too significant with the three words I was thinking of. Nothing will terrify Spurs fans more than Ange Postecoglou saying, I don't think it's anything too significant. Honestly, if Postecoglou is your doctor, ever comes out in a white jacket and is your doctor and says to you, what's wrong with you, is, it's nothing too significant. Run away screaming and go to another doctor and get a second opinion. Because, quite frankly, you should anyway, because Postecoglou is not a doctor. But secondly, if he says that, it just means doom and disaster. It is a horrible phrase he needs to stop using. He has said it about various players that have then gone on to have a long-term injury because of scans and assessments later. He said it about both Maddison and Kulusevski in the last couple of weeks. And they've been season-ending injuries. And not only just like, they'll miss the last week. They've been injuries that they're going to be out for, 2-3 months or so, if not more. Look, to be fair to him, I'm well aware that he is only going off the immediate information available to him that comes from asking the player, and it comes from the medical staff's immediate assessment as well, without all of the information. And I guess he's just trying to remain positive as well. However, I think at some point someone should have said to him, Ange, if they ask about an injury, just say, well, we're not sure, we'll know more in a few days. Just say that. Because I don't think it's anything too significant, has ended up becoming this kind of harbinger, this bringer of doom for every Tottenham player every time he says it. I think when he says it, I kind of imagine people just running for cover in a Tottenham shirt. So fingers crossed that Pat Matasar does not fall into that category, and he is genuinely okay. But my word, can't have another midfielder going. There's not enough options as it is. And you can kind of see, like I said on last night, Sarr comes off, Basuma comes in. Basuma is I think he was just somewhere packing his bags to Bilbao, his suitcase. He was absolutely not switched on for this game at all. And it could, of course, be an element of I don't want to injure myself or anything like that. But I kind of felt like as soon as he came on, it just gave Villa a bit more space to get those 3 points. First, he switched off from a corner. To be fair, he wasn't the only one. There were a couple of people that switched off, but ball comes in. I think it was John McGinn's corner. Watkins gets a header back across. And yeah, Ezri Konsa's just in loads of room where Basuma's just staring at him going, oh, that's nice. And Konsa hooks the ball into the net. Then Boubacar Kamara is running sideways across the Spurs, edge of the Spurs penalty area. Kind of comes towards Bissouma, who goes, oh, you're going to pass, and runs off in one direction. And Kamara's just like, no, I'm not. And he just kind of keeps on going. I think Archie Gray realised what was happening, but just too late. He tries to get out, and Kamara smashes the ball low into net past Kinski. Not too much Kinski can do. I don't really fault Kinski for either goal, to be honest. One, I feels a close range effort. The second one, I think he was unsighted as well. It was quite a hard shot. It was Kamara's first ever Premier League goal. We know Spurs like to give little gifts like that, little milestones. What's that? You've never scored? Here you go. What's that? You haven't won a game in the Premier League for 27 years? Here you go. Have a win. That's what they do. And they're collecting the milestones themselves this season, and not good ones. That defeat made it 25 matches lost in a season, again across all competitions, which is the worst ever in the history of the club. 21 in the league, which we know is absolutely horrendously dreadful as well. They've won just one of their past 11 Premier League matches, and they haven't kept a clean sheet in the past 12 league matches, which is their longest run without a clean sheet since 17 in between August and December 2010. So yeah, really good in the league. Fantastic. Well done, lads. Look, I know in the last month or so there's been reasons behind that in terms of team selection. I know over the winter there were injury issues, but I'm sorry, overall, absolutely, it should nowhere be near that figure. And Postecoglou knows that. The players know that. We're not kind of breaking any news by saying that. It's absolutely disgusting. It's a disgusting total of defeats. It's horrendous. And it should never, ever be seen again. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, this video and our thoughts on this game were never going to be about the result. They were going to be about the players that were involved. Did anyone show anything to suggest they could maybe take a spot in the final? Did everyone get through it okay? Obviously, there were players that came on late in the game. Hopefully, no one picked up any issues in those little moments they had late on. I mean, Basuma got about half an hour just over. Who else do we have come on? Bentancur, Johnson, Solanke, and someone else came on that's gone out of my head. That's really annoying. These little annoying things. I'm sure you're telling me. I know you're telling me, and you're saying, idiot, it was. And I've got it right next to me. Richarlison. Did I say Richarlison? Maybe I just completely left him out. Basuma, Bentancur, Solanke, Richarlison, Johnson all came on. Yeah. So they seem to have got through it with no issues, and that was what it was all about. But there were some little positives in the performance to take out, especially 5 days ahead of the Europa League final. I asked Postecoglou, I did ask him still about the performance, and he said, I thought up until they scored, the boys had worked hard. They were really disciplined and organised. We didn't really let them create too many clear openings. We had our moments as well going the other way. But once they scored, we lost a little bit of belief. We got a little bit fatigued. A lot of those guys haven't played a lot, and we looked like we were fatiguing. And then the game just got away from us. Fatiguing. I've never heard that expression before. So in terms of the players that I thought were quite positive, I thought Danso and Davis were okay. Danso especially for me. showing that they're kind of both ready to jump in if needed, if Van der Ven and Romero have any issues leading up to the game or in the game itself. I know this is more for the long term because he's not registered for the game on Wednesday night. I thought Kinski was really good. And again, I think it was another little kind of show that he's a prospect really for the long term in terms of not only his shot stopping, but his distribution was really good as well. So, yeah, there's a real goalkeeper there. And I think he'll continue to give Vicario more and more kind of to worry about in their little battle, which will hot up over the seasons to come. I thought Matista was okay. Again, he's one of those players who gives you everything. He doesn't really put in performances that are lower than a 6 out of 10. Sometimes the quality isn't there at the end of it, but he could have had an assist. If Odegaard puts that back flick away last night, I just feel he's like a really bright, hard-working player. There's talent there. I still think he's figuring out the system and the English game, but for someone that's just turned 20, I think, the last few weeks, he's definitely putting himself there if needed for the final is probably the best way to put it. Wilson Odegaard was playing in this. I haven't even said this. The formation was kind of a 4-4-2 that became like a 4-2-3-1 at times, but mostly Odegaard was right up alongside Tell, so it was almost a 4-4-2 really, with Odegaard just playing off him occasionally. And I thought Odegaard was better in that role than he had been against Palace. I thought he was pretty dreadful against Palace. But in this one, there were little moments, little dribbles with the ball, little flashes of what he can do that were better. Probably most importantly, I think, on the day was Sonny. Sonny coming back. Yes, there wasn't stuff particularly at the end of what he did, but there was a lot of going through the gears that we haven't seen him do for a while. Really accelerate away from players. And that's probably just having less pain, I think, in his body is going to help on that. He spoke after the game. He said, "I'm feeling good. A little bit tired, of course, after my game back, but physically I feel good. So, yeah, I'm ready to go." It was very important to get the minutes against Palace as well. I came on and played 25, maybe 30 minutes, and today around 70 minutes. It was really good to get game time in my legs, and I think not just one of them. I think the most important thing is that everybody gets fit for Wednesday, and I'll be ready. And then he was asked about kind of watching on as the team's done so well in Europe and having to just watch that. And he said, it's been very, very tough to watch and not be involved with the boys. Obviously, it's one of the toughest moments when you're not involved and not actually there. The lads did a fantastic job in Europe, obviously. And I was very, very happy because their hard work paid off. I was very happy to see the boys happy and smiling and celebrating, which they deserved. Still, the job is not finished. And on Wednesday, we have a massive, massive job to do. I believe we can do it. Our objective is to get a result on Wednesday. Let's all be together from now on. Everyone together with one goal, and together it will happen. Good words from the captain there. The key for Postecoglou now, looking ahead to Wednesday night, is that he's got to formulate a formation, a tactic that doesn't need central attacking midfielders, really. It's going to have to work around that because we know they're all currently out. Like I said, I do wonder whether the formation that he used last night, he was just having a little look at it, albeit with different players, and just seeing where he thought it could work with the final starters. And you know what? I can see that 4-4-2/4-2-3-1 working with the 11 that were left out. You can kind of see, 11 left out was probably with Sonny coming into that. You could imagine, I think, Solanke just playing off Richarlison. You can imagine Son and Johnson on the wings, trying to get either low balls into the box or crosses into the box for two very good headers, or guys that are quite good at sweeping up the ball low in the 6-yard box. But also you've got Pedro Porro getting the ball into the mixer, as it were, into the mix from a deeper position as well. And then you've got Bentancur and Basuma kind of patrolling behind them. It's got different aspects to that. You know, United they've got quite a few big lumps at defence, so they might prefer an aerial approach. But I think also you can play those across the box. It gives Spurs a lot of options to aim for. It does create a midfield duo, which might struggle against the three of United. It depends how much Spurs are pinning them back with the other players they've got. Solanke did a nice turn and run late in the game, which kind of just showed you he can play in that kind of deeper role. You could play Son there and play Richarlison or Tell on the left, I suppose. I'm not completely against that. I think that's kind of the one that I quite like the idea of. It's a bit old school if it's a 4-4-2, but I just think it plays to some of the players' strengths. There's loads of other options. You could go for a back three, put Danso in there, make the fullbacks suddenly wing backs. We know Doggy and Porro can play as wing backs. They've got a lot of experience there in their previous clubs. So you could do that. You could just go with the 4-3-3 and play Sarr in there if he's okay. It's not a sexy midfield, but we know that Sarr can make runs from deep. We know that Bentancur can thread balls through, so it wouldn't be horrendous. It wouldn't be great. Let me know in the comments what formation you'd like to see, who you'd like to see playing. Postecoglou was asked about Odegaard playing in that central attacking role, and he said, I thought Wilson was good. The issue with Wilson is he just missed so much of the season. You can see he lacks match sharpness, but he's an intelligent player. Now, I thought at times tonight, in tight areas, he found his way forward and a couple of things didn't fall his way. And he was unlucky with his finish, which I thought was an outstanding finish, but it fell straight at Emi Martinez. I think with Wilson, at least we've got him some significant minutes again. With the way we are in that midfield area, he might be one we need to rely on come Wednesday. So it's good for him to play. The other big decision of the night, of course, was that, if you're not aware, Romero van der Ven and Doggy did not even travel up to the Birmingham. They stayed at Hotspur Way, had a really intense training session with the coaching staff, and he was asked, Postecoglou, whether he was concerned about those three and Vicario not having played a single minute for almost 2 weeks ahead of the final. And he started answering the question before it even finished, and he was like, yeah, but they're available. And he kind of paused, and he said, they are available. For us, there's no point bringing them here. They weren't going to play today. They stayed at home. They did a really strong session. And come Wednesday, knock on wood. Oh, man, there's wood over there. They're all available. That's him saying knock on wood, but I kind of felt I had to there. They're all available, and that's the most important thing. That's the primary thing. When those guys play, that back four with Vic in goal, our chances of success significantly improve. I don't know how else to say it. They are available. It's just because he was kind of asked again, like, you just didn't want to risk them? And he said, I don't know how else to say it. They're available. If something happened to them today, then they wouldn't be available. And I just don't think that would be the smart course for us to take. So, yeah, all eyes now on Bilbao. Spurs will be playing all white in Bilbao. I think they're the home team. But there's this strange thing where the home team gets the away dressing room. It's a very odd thing. I remember that happening before. It might have even been in Madrid 6 years ago. But yeah, they will be. Just before I forget, in case I forget to mention it earlier, I saw George Abbott. I watched him playing for Notts County against AFC Wimbledon in the League 2 playoff semi-finals. Unfortunately, Notts County lost. But George has had a brilliant season. Absolutely terrific season on loan there. Yeah, massive for him really in his development, and I would imagine we'll see him way up the leagues come the end of the season. I was just trying to look to see how many games he played. 2 of those were for Spurs, 3 of those for Spurs. 44 games played for Notts County. Great season of development. But yeah, sorry, back to the players that are here and right now for Spurs. It's exciting but terrifying all in one go, looking ahead to Bilbao. The players have had little tasters of the big day and all the fuss and hullabaloo that comes around it in this week. I spoke to you before about the media day we had on Monday, a Hotspur Way, but actually the following day as well, UEFA had what I think is called an access day. So they go in there. You might see when the Premier League do it before the start of the season. You know, when the players kind of line up photos, but they also do those little things where they kind of walk towards the camera and they'll go like, rah, at the camera, and they'll kind of point to the name on the back of their shirt and things like that. And they had to film all of those for the Europa League final. Promo images, motion capture, I don't know what you call them. But the other interesting thing about that is that Spurs gave their injured players the choice of whether they wanted to take part as well, just to kind of feel a part of the big day. Some of them just weren't around. They're going through rehab. Decky obviously has just had his surgery in hospital. But actually, both Lucas Bergvall and Dane Scarlett took up the invitation to be part of the photo shoots. And we know, of course, Bergvall taking up that offer, we're all going to get that little bit of hope that maybe he's feeling that he might be able to get to a point where he can play a part, despite the fact that Postecoglou has very clearly been telling us repeatedly, and again on Thursday, that he can't. So Bergvall, if you're not aware, had his protective boot taken off earlier in the week. I think it might have been Monday. Do you remember me saying about I could see him walking around? I think he was walking around without it, from what I understand. So he had the boot off. Back on the grass with the medical staff, which Postecoglou's words on Thursday said his first tentative steps on the grass, and then added, but he won't be available. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll do everything he possibly can to be available. I should also add, Lucas Bergvall swept the board in the Supporters Player of the Year awards. He won everything going. I think young player, senior player. Sonny won best goal for the Olympico, wasn't it? Goal he scored from the corner. But yeah, Lucas swept the board in his debut season as well. I think the key for him in the final, of course, will be, yes, it will be 9 days or so from when he took the protective boot off to when the final is. But it's also what's happened underneath that, what's going on with the ankle and any ligaments and stuff like that. And would he be risking serious long-term damage if he played any part in it? And you just don't want that, because he is 19 years old. He's going to have a lot more opportunities, hopefully, to play in big games across his career. So that's all got to be judged and juggled, and we'll see. I think all eyes at first will be on whether he travels. And then, of course, it will be like, has anyone else travelled that's injured? We're going to be doing so much rubbish detective work in the next few days. I'd love him to play a part, just purely because he deserves to be there, because he's played so well in Europe at times this season as well. I mean, both those players had played their part in Europe. Dane as well. Dane scored, don't forget, against Elfsborg, wasn't it? So, yeah, they've all kind of played their parts, and yeah, it would be nice to see him, especially, Lucas involved. I presume Dane can't. Dane had a groin surgery after a groin injury this season. I don't know if he's in a position to be there. I would be surprised, but certainly hasn't been mentioned as a potential player involved in that. Just trying to think whether he'd be available on the B list anyway. I'm sure he would. I don't know. I don't want to guess, because there's been no indication that he's going to be available, but yeah, I'm sure everyone senses how huge this game is for Spurs. Everyone around the club craving a trophy, a long-awaited trophy. Even this reporter. I turned up at Villa Park last night, and when I walked in, a very kind lady at the media reception, she was giving out the lanyards with the press passes, and she's like, "Would you like the lanyard strap that has Champions League on it, or just says visitor?" And I was like, "Hello, the Champions League." It just felt like one of those weird little, like a sign kind of thing, because obviously Spurs can get in the Champions League if they win the Europa League. So it was like, yes, that one, please. I'm going to take it as a sign if Spurs win. If they don't, it meant nothing, absolutely nothing. But it's just silly little superstitious things that even I'm doing now, which is just insane. I honestly, I couldn't have grabbed it quick enough out of our hands. Yoink, out of our hands. And actually, on the way home, driving back down the M6, I passed the Spurs coach with the players on it. They obviously don't fly back from somewhere that's about 2 and a bit hours away. I think it's only the ones up north they'll fly to sometimes. But yeah, I passed the bus. You can't see in. Obviously, I was driving in the dark anyway. I didn't particularly want to take my eyes off the road for too long. But it's a funny one. It's got anyone that's seen it, it's all painted down the side with the Tottenham Hotspur blazoned across it. And you can't see in. You can only see out. But yeah, they were all on there. And look, they'll be hoping that if they can do something special on Wednesday night, then 48 hours later, or less than 48 hours later, they'll be on a different kind of bus. One without a roof. For you must plan these things. I know it feels like it's tempting fate to even talk about open-top bus raids, but they have to be planned. You've got to talk with all the relevant authorities. It's a bit like the Villa game moving to last night. That had to be sorted out before Spurs had even got through the semi-finals, because just in case. And it's the same with an open-top bus parade. It sounds ridiculous afterwards, and I know there's like images of Arsenal like Champions things that were in storage and all this sort of stuff, but you've got to do it. Everyone's got to agree to it, where it's going to go, the route it's going to take. And it looks like now local residents, schools and businesses have all been made aware that Spurs, if they were to win on Wednesday evening in Bilbao, would have a trophy parade on Friday. I think it would begin at Edmonton Green and work its way down, is it 4th Street into the High Road and then to the stadium where they'd have to put up a stage and stuff like that. So it would be quite a kind of a big thing, because it would be a big thing. It would be Spurs' first European trophy in 41 years if they managed it. Their first trophy of any sort in 17. I would imagine a fair few people would turn out for that. But look, right now, it's all just ifs, buts and maybes. It's very much potential. It has not happened. We're not saying it's going to happen. We're saying that that's what they're trying to plan in case it does. No jinxing to be done here, please. Yeah, they've got to get the job done. So the rest of this week for them, today, Saturday, is a rest day for the players and the coaches. I'm sure some players might want to train, but it's meant to be a rest day. Strong full training session on Sunday for those players, obviously, that didn't play at Villa Park. And what else we got? You've got another session on Monday, and then they'll fly out to Bilbao that afternoon. I'm heading off on Tuesday, early Tuesday morning, but I don't get there till the afternoon because I've got a connecting flight. I will get there hopefully in time. It's going to be a bit tight, but we'll then have a press conference at the stadium, the Estadio de San Mamés, where we'll have Postecoglou, and I think we'll have 2 players as well. You would imagine Sonny as captain will be one of them, but we get another player as well. I think a good choice would be Pedro Porro, because, you know, they're in Spain, and he speaks, obviously, Spanish, but also his English is coming on leaps and bounds, so he could probably do a press conference in English for the English journalists, but maybe with a little bit of help from a translator, perhaps. But yeah, we'll see. And then, of course, they're going to train on the pitch, and that's, I think, when the reality will really hit them. Inside that stadium, it's a terrific looking stadium. I've never been there. I'm really looking forward to going inside it, but I've had seen various images within it. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. It's just going to be a huge night. It really is, for everyone connected with Spurs. There's so many subplots, narratives, and obviously what a win or defeat would do, and the various pathways and kind of pathways that would send Tottenham, in different directions, depending on what happens in this game in terms of the size of the squad as well. If they've got no Europe, or if they do have the Champions League, what money there is to spend. That old chestnut, and just who's there, who's not in terms of staff, players, everything. It's huge what 90 minutes, potentially 120 minutes and penalties means in a season. I've said it before. Postecoglou goes from being one of the worst statistically Spurs managers in a season to one of the best, one of the highest achieving, because he would have won a trophy, which so few people have done. It's just crazy. Only 3 managers, haven't they, in the history of Spurs have won European trophies. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. I was second guessing myself. Yeah. So, yeah, it's mad. It's just mad what one game of football can do. That is the fine line in football. It really is. For those interested, that verse from Wicked that I said right at the top, the way that goes on, that verse, it goes into too late for second guessing, which weirdly I've just mentioned second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts, close my eyes and leap. That's exactly what Spurs need to do. They absolutely have to do that on Wednesday now. They've just got to trust their instincts and go for it. Because everything in recent weeks has been tailored towards this moment, this match. And they must trust, I guess, everything that they've done in these European games to do it again. They need to take that leap, I guess, defy gravity, if you will, the gravity of their league position, which is absolutely pants, but defy that and soar in Bilbao, soar in Spain on Wednesday evening, because I would love to do a video when I return. Probably won't be till Friday because I've got a really late night flight on Thursday, but I would love to do my next video just being very happy. I kind of did the dance earlier. I could do a little dance at the end. That would be amazing. I just realised wearing this Ghostbusters t-shirt, which is not intentional, but hopefully Spurs can kind of bust the ghosts of the past, the recent past of finals lost and they can go into a final and do something really special and create a bit of history and make us all very happy after a season when we have not experienced that too much. And they could give us the greatest high, one of the best highs possible if they do that. So yeah, let's see what happens. Time to head off. Like I say, probably won't speak to you again now for a little while. Hopefully the next one is going to be something special. Unless something remarkable happens in the meantime, I don't even know if I'm going to have the time to do it regardless. But yeah, fingers crossed, everyone. Let's have a great night in Bilbao. Everyone that's travelling, keep yourselves out of trouble. Have a great kind of time there. It looks like it's going to be a magnificent place as well. And yeah, when I say keep yourselves out of trouble, I'm not saying going to start the trouble, but we know in these away trips sometimes trouble looks for you. We've seen plenty of instances of that, and yeah, definitely. It's going to be great. I'm sure thousands will go out there just to enjoy the experience, even if they haven't got match tickets. I'm sure there'll be many, many, many more across the world that are looking forward to it and hoping just for something. Of course, I shall be doing all my normal coverage that I do from the game and everything, so keep an eye on across my social media accounts. I'd love to report on Spurs winning a trophy. That would be the bet. There have been some highs in my Spurs reporting time, be it being at the White Hart Lane finale, being in Amsterdam that night, but this would probably have to be another level because it would actually be Spurs doing something tangible and winning a trophy, which I've never reported on in the 9 years I've covered Spurs. It's been a long time remembering the last trophy. And as I said before, this is a major trophy. This would be above the 2 League Cups as well. And that's been a long time coming. One of those has come along. So yeah, please, Tottenham, make us happy. Right, time to head off. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves. I shall catch you later. Goodbye.